Nurse said ginger ale was for patients only. Sitting in my wife's hospital room and a nurse asked if there was anything she could get me. I had a bit of a tickle in my throat and I was thirsty, so I asked for something carbonated. She brought me a ginger ale. Great, problem solved. Next shift. Nurse asked the same question and I asked for a ginger ale. She brought me a ginger ale with no problem. Next shift. No problem. Then things get interesting. Morning shift comes in. This nurse asks the same question. I asked for a ginger ale. She told me those are for patients only. I had to go to get my own. So I Instacarted a ginger ale along with a few other things with instructions to deliver to the room. They were taking my wife away to surgery and the Instacart shows up at the same time. He asks if anyone ordered groceries. I waved my hand up and asked him to leave it in the room. The nurse exclaimed, "You can't do that." I told her, "You told me I had to get my own." So I did. The sheer look of her head blowing a gasket was priceless. I really do love nurses. They are more important than the doctor's IMHO. Patients have the most contact with them. I even keep treats in the room just for nurses. I have never met a nurse as militant or controlling or as much a sheer BTH as this one. So I took a bit of pleasure here. What she didn't know is that I was a patient in this hospital for 3.5 weeks back in January. I Instacarted and DoorDashed orders with no problem. I could only eat so much hospital food. As a nurse, 1 ginger ale in a shift? No problem. Especially if asked nicely. If a family member wants like 72 jellos, puddings, ice creams, turkey sandwiches, and juices in a shift, then there's definitely a limit. I have seen family members wipe out our entire fridge with nothing left for patients. If younger kids come to visit, I definitely offer them a popsicle or chocolate milk. A little hospitality goes a long way when it's appropriate. Probably 20 years ago, I was in the hospital for chest pains. By the time they got me situated in the cardiac unit, they had quit serving dinner. And I was starving. At the time, there was a Pizza Hut in the basement. I assumed for staff use. I called and found out that yes, they would deliver anywhere in the hospital. Thanks. I need a medium cheese delivered to room 802. Last name is Hick. So I had pizza that evening. In the cardiac unit. I had pizza delivered when my child was at Children's. Shared with the other parents in the waiting room since I couldn't bring it to his room. Even saved a slice for out-night nurse. The hospital my husband was in had a snack room for patients and family. He was bedbound, but I'd run down there to get applesauce, yogurt, ginger ale, etc. Any chance the morning nurse meant, "Go get your own," from a room like that instead of ordering full in Instacart? So technically we are told by the hospital those things are for patients only. For most of us, we still give visitors drinks or small snacks. Some people, however, are more strict than others. She may just be one of those people who tend to take hospital policy more serious. I tend to take certain things more seriously than others. I don't allow visitors who stay the night to sleep in bed with the patient. I've seen too much. I totally get it. Over the last few years between my daughter and my mom, I've spent way too much time at our local hospital. The cafeteria and vending machines only carry flavored waters and sugar-free beverages. If I'm in the for 7 hours, damn it, I just want a Mountain Dew. Plus I can't leave. It's even worse that the hospital is in a residential neighborhood and the closest convenience store is probably 2 miles away. By the time you walk half the length of the hospital just to get to the parking lot, get in your car, get what you want and back, you've killed at least 30 minutes. I learned really fast that when spending the day with my mom at the hospital to have snacks and drinks with me, for convenience in addition to saving money in the cafeteria. I work nights as a tech in a big hospital. I keep a stash of cereal bars, snack crackers and bottled water to share with emergency room people that have been there all night. They really appreciate the gesture. RN here. Agreed. Unless we are down to like only having a few left, then no problem. Only time I've had to refuse was when a family member was asking for stuff hourly. Once is fine. Once a shift is entitled behavior. Instacart is cool though. That was just a power trip by the nurse. Man, that is unheard of here. You are lucky to be able to get water from the fountain. I am in BC, Canada. Fortunately, we don't get too many of the severe nurses. I spend a fair bit of time during the year at the hospital. Usually 8 hours at a time. I get bored, so I get blankets and water for people when I can. Water filter and blank heater say to get a nurse to do it. Right. Some nurses love the help. They are already overworked and shocked someone wants to pitch in. A few get upset if I even leave the room. Where does the hospital ginger ale come from? The magic bottomless ginger ale lake? Is it not possible that they were running low? Had to limit it to patients only until they were resupplied so that the actual patients would be sure to have what they need. I've spent a lifetime being the support person for family at hospital. Staff do their best, but what that means at a given moment can depend on a lot of factors beyond their control. Their priority is patient care. You were not, in this instance, a patient. I hope you masked up as soon as you felt that tickle in your throat. I know hospital air is deadly dry, but you shouldn't ever expose any patient or staff to potential illness if you have reason to suspect it. Didn't realize that Instacarted was a verb. Nurses are the best. Usually. When I had major surgery 2 years ago, I was really sick from anesthesia for about 24 hours after waking up. To the point of not even keeping water down despite anti-nausea med IVs every few hours. The overnight nurse was actually so worried that the first thing she did after starting her shift the next night was to stop by and see whether I was feeling better XD. Anyway, when the day nurse helped me get out of bed in the morning, I had just finished yet another IV with anti-nausea meds. That didn't really help much. And fluids. And was lamenting that I had been looking forward to lunch actually because I loved salmon. Half an hour later she came back smiling and told me she spoke with catering and they knew and would keep my lunch and reheat it for dinner if I was still unable to eat at lunchtime. D. You have no idea what that nurse was dealing with on the ward. There could have been a patient in serious condition or needing frequent monitoring, which takes priority over your thirst when you can get up and get your drink. Get over yourself. Nurses are not waitresses. What else was the nurse doing that made her so terrible? This isn't anything against you. But I'm jealous if this is the worst experience you've ever had with a nurse. There's a good number of nurses out there that are real pieces of work. Wow, way to stick it to the less than checks notes. Underpaid healthcare worker. Actually, the nurses that gave you ginger ale were probably in the wrong. The food and drinks are for patients, not visitors. The unit has a daily number of items that are stocked by the dietary department. And outsourcing food service is common. Don't ask nurses to steal. Now ordering food to be delivered is a great idea. Just don't share with patients that have dietary restrictions. And you guys have to pay for a hospital stay? Nurses are great. They're not more important than doctors. I lost a few kilos when I spent 5 days on hospital food.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.